What's up, family? Um, I just wanted to hop on here, have a quick conversation about some things that I've been thinking about because I know it can't just be me. I feel like we've been lied to about a lot. Like all the major topics in life that we think about and operate in. I feel like it's not as it seems or it's not as we were taught. So I just wanted to have a brief conversation with people that are seeing the same thing. Um, it's gonna be real informal. I got notes and everything, so you might see me look down a couple times. It is what it is. I just want to talk through it and see if anybody else is seeing this. So the first thing is our money supply. Did y'all know that our Federal Reserve, our nation's bank, is privately owned? That means that we, or the United States, doesn't actually own its own money supply. And so when you think about it, that makes sense as to when we watch the news and we're wondering why is all of our money going across the country, or sorry, out of the country. Why? What's going on? Why do we owe so much? Why are the things actually being printed and going towards the programs or the opportunities that we are told that they're going towards? Because right when you look around and see the infrastructure of the country falling apart, you see all the homeless people, with no shelter, no anything. It makes you wonder. It makes you question. Right. At the same time, they can bring in a bunch of migrants, and those migrants have plenty of money. But much more importantly, the money supply. When I talk and ask around with friends and family, most of them think that we own our own money. And I think that's a reasonable assumption. The problem is it doesn't seem to be the case. And that poses a pretty big question, right? Who do we owe all this money to? When we print this money and go into debt, who are we in bed with, or who do we owe, really? It's just something to think about. Second thing, when it comes to religion, I know it's a taboo topic. Feel free to look away if you don't want to hear about this, but I grew up as a Christian. Most of us grew up as Christians that I'm friends and family with. So if that's the case, let's think about Jesus. It's my understanding through my research that his real name was Yeshua, or Yeshua, whichever way you want to pronounce it. Tomato, tomato. It's interesting because if you think somebody's the savior, wouldn't you want to call him his actual name instead of a name that we just decided to call him? If he was known as Yeshua or Yeshua while he was here in body, in mind, and spirit, when he was on this planet, shouldn't we be calling that person by their actual name? Especially if they're the true Messiah, the person that actually gets us from earth to heaven. I don't know, it's just weird to me. Another interesting thing about that same individual is that the imagery I've seen when I've grown up here in America is that Yeshua, or Jesus, whatever you want to call him, was a white individual. But it seems when you travel the world, it is well known that that individual was black or copper colored or whatever you want to say. So if we know that that individual was of a dark complexion, let's just say, again, how do you have a Messiah of a religion, the person that's going to come back and take you to heaven, and you depict him however you want to, not how he actually was? Just food for thought. Seems weird to me, but I'll let you have your own opinion on that. The next thing that I find weird and something that we need to talk about is the food. Many of the ingredients in our food are banned around the country, around the planet. Again, very informal. I'm just sitting here thinking out loud. But when you think about that, when you look around, we have in America all the obesity rates, all the different cancers, all these things that make us very unhealthy. And you have to wonder, where is that coming from? We get told that our food supply and healthcare and all these things are so top notch, but doesn't seem to be the case when you look at our food and actually look into the ingredients. They seem to tell a different story. Many of the people are actually finding out that the food that we eat causes parasites in the body. I know I myself, I can only speak for myself. I was diagnosed with irritable bowel syndrome back in 2019, 2020. Doctors couldn't really tell me what was going on and what the problem was, what the causes were. But by doing my own research, I was able to figure out that a lot of it had to do with parasites in the body. I had to cleanse the body. But what's funny is once I did that, I felt great. Hadn't been so energized in years. And I'm young, I'm roughly 30. So it's just something to think about is, what is in our food? What are we consuming? What are we eating? The last thing I'll say about our food is, I don't know if you've been paying attention, but they've approved lab-grown meat for sale, right, on our shelves or in our food. So you're not getting that organic food, that real food that we hunt for or raise like cattle. We're not getting that. We're getting lab-grown meat. So pay attention to that. Around that same topic, some of that food is actually human meat. I know that sounds weird, and that's probably triggering some of you right now. But look it up. Right? Ask yourself, what are you actually eating? One other thing I'm going to go into on that human meat thing, I'm not going to dive too deeply in it, but where is that human meat coming from? Might have something to do with the human trafficking, but I don't really even want to go there in this video. The last thing I wanted to bring up is healthcare. When it comes to the vaccines, again, I know a taboo topic, but it has to be something that we discuss. Did you notice that they're starting to recall the vaccines around the world? So after all of that, after all of the, we're going to force some people to do it and it's safe for you and your kids and your family. Now it's come out that many people were right that refused to take the vaccine, that did not want to inject, a rushed vaccine into their body. When you think back to those times where people were forced to do it or they lost their jobs, that really wasn't right. And while that happened, you got to ask yourself the bigger question. Do our healthcare companies actually care about us? What was the true story of COVID and how that played out? What's going on there? An interesting nugget about COVID is through my research, you feel free to do your own, I found out that COVID, the actual virus, was patented back in the 1960s. And what I remember specifically during 2020 is that when you watch the news, when it first started, the main thing was, we don't know. That's what everybody said. We don't know how bad it can get. We don't know exactly what symptoms it's going to cause. Maybe this, maybe that. We just don't want to overwhelm the hospitals, the healthcare workers. But we simply don't know. The problem is they did know, right? If we've had a virus that has been patented, right, since the 60s, we know an awful lot about it. A lot more than what was led on for us to believe. So I don't want to go too deeply into that, just some real high level nuggets, some real high level thoughts. But really, I think the way I want to end this is just by asking you all who's watching this, who actually care about what's going on. What are you seeing that seems off or that we're being lied about? Do you have any comments, thoughts, concerns, anything that we as a group really need to hear and start becoming aware of? Because if you haven't noticed, if we are being lied to about all these different things, it's going to take us, the people, to talk about it. Peace and love.